Well, that was quite an introduction. The registration revenue growth is absolutely one of my favorites. It's the first thing I always talk about. And it's pretty amazing when you think of 70% cumulative growth in a company that's 55 years old. Those are startup type growth numbers. And this is a 55-year-old company. So congratulations to all of you for all the hard work you do to raise those registration revenues. Okay, as Toby said, she's covered a number of great statistics about the world of yellow and inside camping. So I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk about, we're going to step outside the tent and talk about the business climate in the two countries that we operate in. So we're going to cover, this isn't quite as exciting as climbing mountains, but I think the news is just as good. We're going to talk a little bit about consumer confidence. We're going to talk about employment numbers. We're going to talk about gas prices. We all know that has an impact on us. And banking, the banking environment right now, interest rates, RV shipments, and then a few other miscellaneous things that are going on in the economy. But first, let's talk about this serendipitous new business opportunity that we had this year. August 21st, total solar eclipse crossed the entire United States, and for 27 campgrounds that were at or near the path of totality, as they called it, they had a 156% increase in the registration revenues from the prior year. All we need to do is figure out how to schedule those a little bit more often, and can we move it into the shoulder season, not in the middle of the summer. We'll get working on that. Okay, so this first chart is consumer confidence, and that's a measurement of people's confidence in the economy and people's confidence in their personal finances. And the blue line on this chart is the consumer confidence. And in October, that increased 5.3 points after being fairly flat in September. We know that September had the hurricanes. But that brings it up to 125.9 on their index. That's the highest it's been in the United States in 17 years. So very exciting news from a consumer confidence standpoint. And the other line, the red line on this chart, is small business optimism. And that's a gauge of their optimism for increased sales in the future, increasing need for staffing, and increasing opportunities to invest capital to grow their businesses. Now that increased also in the month of October, about 0.8 of a point. But as you can see from the chart, certainly growing optimism on the part of small business as well as consumers. So very exciting time in the US. Now let's go north and look at the consumer confidence in Canada. In their most recent measurement in October, they have a little different scale up there, kind of like the money. But they increased about 2/3 of a point up to 55, and that's at a high, as you can tell from the chart, for the last several years. Now, their business confidence factor actually had a decrease recently. And when I researched it a little bit further, what they're feeling up there is the Canadian economy has grown so fast in 2017 in the first 2 quarters, there's a little bit of concern that things are going to slow up a little bit. In fact, in the most recent quarter, they've had sort of flat, no growth. But let's talk about GDP for a minute. In the United States, GDP in the second quarter increased at an annual pace of 3.1%, and in the third quarter, 3%. GDP growth at 3% annually is fantastic, and that's where they expect it to end this year at. So we haven't seen growth like that in GDP for quite some time. And in Canada, the first quarter, they grew at an annual pace of 3.7%, and then 4.5% in the second quarter. So great growth in the first part of the year. And then again, as I said, flattened out a little bit, but they're expecting to finish the year somewhere around an annual rate of about 3% as well. So great growth in GDP up there, and that's a great indicator of how strong the economy is. So let's talk about employment. This is one we hear about almost every day. And in the United States, in October, the unemployment rate dropped to 4.1%. That's the lowest rate since the early 1970s. I mean, that's historically low rate. So very exciting news there. In October, our economy generated about 261,000 jobs. That was a little bit less than what some of the economists expected, but still very, very strong growth for the year. So another great indicator, as Toby said, this is the time to really seize it. Excellent. And in Canada, unemployment is ticked up just 0.1% in the most recent month. Again, a little bit along this theme of great growth in the first half and a little bit of slowing in the most recent quarter in Canada. But they're on pace. They've created 250,000 jobs in the first 10 months of the year, and they're on pace to have an increase of about 1.5% for the year, which is the strongest growth in Canada since 2007. So great employment numbers up in Canada as well. Gas prices. We know that gas prices have a big effect on us, and in the most recent measured week, gas prices are at $2.49 in the U.S. for regular. Now that's up about 29 cents over last year. But as you can see from the chart, it's been fairly steady growth. And I'm a firm believer that steady growth is okay in the minds of campers. But this extreme volatility that we saw a couple of years ago, that gets a little scary. I think that affects campers more. So it can increase, but just steady is okay. And in Canada, pretty much the same story up there. This chart is on a basis of U.S. dollars per liter. They're up just a penny in the most recent measurement. So same band, sort of that comfortable, steady increase, no wide swings, not scary to campers. So let's talk about the banking community. I did a little research on the top 7 banks in the United States, and all 7 of them are reporting strong earnings, strong growth in their loan portfolios, decreases in their provisions for bad loans, and most of them are increasing their dividends. So very strong banking environment in the United States. In Canada, they have the top 5 banks in Canada. Same story there, all real strong growth and real strong growth in their earnings and strong growth in their loan portfolios. Now we know that interest rates are going to affect us when the economies are going this strong. Our Fed increased the rates a couple times this year. Now we know we're going to have to deal with that, work with that, probably pay a little bit higher interest rates. But those increases are certainly a sign that the Federal Reserve in the United States has confidence that the economy is growing well, and the Central Bank of Canada has also made a couple of increases in rates up there as well. So their governing bodies know that their economy is growing well also. And let's talk for a minute about Independence Bank, our friends in Havre, Montana. We've had a great partnership with them for many, many years. This year, Independence Bank has so far this year increased their portfolio $28 million in loans to KOA franchisees. It's absolutely incredible. And I talked to Chuck in the last couple of days, and he said they still have several deals on the table, and they think that number may get as high as a $30 million increase this year. Absolutely fantastic partnership. Could we have a round of applause for Chuck and the gang at Independence Bank? Okay, Toby talked briefly about RV shipments, so of course, I'm going to get into the numbers a little bit more details. The beginning of the year, they were forecast to increase shipments this year, or send out 446,000 new units to dealerships. 446. That was going to be the highest in 40 years. It was a doubling of 2008. And their most recent release for September was a 29.4% increase for the month, which puts them on a pace to deliver or to be up 17% for the year. If you project that out through the end of the year, that's going to be more like 490 to 500,000 new RVs going out to dealerships this year. Just historic numbers for them, and certainly a very, very good sign for KOA. As Toby mentioned, most of the manufacturers are adding capacity either in Elkhart. Now, Elkhart used to be the poster child of economic challenges about 8 or 9 years ago. Now they have labor shortages, and a lot of these dealerships or a lot of these manufacturers are actually looking to add capacity in other locations because everybody in Elkhart is working at the moment. And how critical is that to us, RV business? 85% of our camper nights and 74% of our registration revenues are tied to RVs. Obviously, a very strong connection to RVs for KOA, and those numbers bode very, very well for the future of KOA. Now, we've got some comments from Bob Martin, CEO of Thor Industries, the largest manufacturer in the world of RVs. They manufacture under 17 different brands. So let's hear from Bob.
From Elkhart, Indiana, I just want to say hello and thank you to all the KOA company and franchisees. We appreciate all that you do for the RV industry, and we appreciate the partnership. As we wrap up 2017, dealer optimism has been incredible, especially coming out of the open house in September. Big shows, Hershey, Pennsylvania, Pomona, have all been very strong shows for the industry. Record attendance, record sales, all very strong signs as we lead into next year. And for us, we really don't see anything slowing down. We see the dealers encouraged and really looking forward to the spring show season. Right now, we're looking at demand in the industry that is definitely on the travel trailer fifth wheel side. We're breaking pre-recession records, and we don't see it slowing. We see a little change in the market to where it's smaller units, it's truly younger buyers that are coming in. I'm sure in the campgrounds, people can see it even more than we can. Younger couples, younger families going out and just exploring the outdoors and enjoying the RV lifestyle. For the industry, we still have 4 or 5 years of boomers coming into our buying segment. It's bigger units, it's bigger motorhomes, diesel, and big fifth wheels, very important part to our business. At the same time, we all need to be communicating with millennials that are probably 4 or 5 years out. In between there, you've got Gen X, Gen Y, but millennials are a bigger market than boomers. So that's where we see this trend to smaller units. But for us at Thor, we make everything from a $15,000 trailer to a $700,000 motorhome. So we're trying to market to people from all spectrums. Right now, probably the fastest growing market are small travel trailers, entry-level fifth wheels, but really the growth that you see in the industry is in the entry-level travel trailer, a trailer that's anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000. That's the main driver, and that's where we've been expanding. But also smaller motorhomes. We have incredible growth in our motorhomes that are less than $80,000. And a lot of these new customers that they're just more comfortable with a smaller unit. It's less expensive, it's easier to get into. As we look at next year, we're rapidly expanding. We're adding on to plants, we're building new plants in Elkhart County, LaGrange County. In Idaho, we just announced an expansion. We see great things in the industry for years to come. Many look at it as a when's the next cycle? We honestly don't see it. We feel so confident in the industry right now that we're expanding quite a bit, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. I've enjoyed a great relationship with KOA for many years. From my years at Keystone, we started the trailer giveaway program, the contest, and KOAs are a great system, a great way for a customer to book a campground. It's consistent, it's high quality, it's a great product, and it's something that we need as manufacturers. It's vital to the industry, so we appreciate everything that KOA does for the industry.
How exciting is that? So just to wrap up here, there's a couple other factors that certainly may affect our economies, our business climate in the two countries. The U.S., our equity markets are at or near all-time highs. Certainly when people's 401k balances are strong, their savings accounts are building, they're going to be out there camping, so good signs there. We've got proposals for tax reform in the U.S., and God only knows where this is going to land. It's been on the news pretty much 24 hours a day for the last several weeks. But the one piece of confidence that I do take out of it is both sides of the aisle seem to be talking about tax breaks for the middle class and tax breaks for small business. So hopefully, in all of the arguing, they can come up with some solutions that do provide that, which will help you small businesses and certainly our campers, which keeps the economy moving well. The future of NAFTA, our president has said several times he's not a big fan of it, so that might have some impact on our economy and certainly on Canada as well. My favorite thing, the baby boomers, is a fellow baby boomer. 10,000 retiring daily for the next 12 years. It's absolutely incredible influx of new campers and new people who have a strong connection to KOA. North Korea has been a concern for many, many months. I think that's been a drag on our economy. And again, not really certain how that's going to turn out, but at least the news that they talk about recently is talking about negotiations and resolutions instead of just childish name calling. So maybe we're making a little bit of progress there too. The US-Canadian dollar exchange rate always has a little bit of an impact on our two economies, so hopefully that stays pretty steady as well. And then of course there's weather. We're talking about a record year. Everything was running smoothly, and then we got slammed by a couple of hurricanes. But I'm happy to say, with the exception of Sugarloaf Key, all of the KOAs are back in business, a lot of cleanup, some rebuilding, certainly, and we'll get Sugarloaf. It'll take us several months, but we'll get Sugarloaf back in business as well, so we can withstand the weather too. So in conclusion, talking about a number of factors that really point to this is a great time in our economy to seize it. Toby talks about a great time with the KOA brand to seize it. Several things coming together very well. And in the economy, this is based on fundamentals, the fundamentals of strong GDP growth in both countries, strong employment growth in both countries, very strong banking community. So this isn't some irrational exuberance that might go off a cliff soon, like Bob. I think this is going to continue for quite some time, and it's very, very exciting. So I'm very excited about 2018 as I look forward. And if I even look a little bit farther forward, maybe about 7 years, we might have another one of those serendipitous events. We got another eclipse. 14 states are going to get hit this time. And you guys all know how I preach about long-term planning. So it's never too early to start thinking about 2024. New sites, rate management. So let's get on that. 14 states, 2 Canadian provinces this time. And while you're working on that, our marketing department will do everything they can to hang a logo on it. So thanks very much for your time. Please help me welcome to the stage the CEO of Campgrounds of America, Pat Hipmeyer.